Today I wanted to talk about Green Bay Packers running back Aaron Jones. So if you didn't know already, Aaron Jones' contract, primarily his cap hit entering the 2023 season, is a bit of a problem. So today I wanted to go over all the options the Packers have with Aaron Jones going forward. Now, of course, Aaron Jones is signed through 2024, so he is on the roster next year, but the cap hit raises significantly from what we were used to last year and then also in 2021. And with the Green Bay Packers having another offseason full of salary cap issues and how to get above the cap when they're currently under the cap, and a lot of contracts they can mess with, Aaron Jones is definitely one of them. So first and foremost, I love Aaron Jones. I love everything he does on this Green Bay Packers offense, and I definitely think the Packers should retain him. I don't think they should either A, trade him, or B, cut him this offseason. And I know us Packers fans still kind of have this sour taste in our mouth from last week, week 18. The Packers are already up over the lines. They're driving down the field again, and they're in the Lions territory, and Aaron Jones fumbles on the sideline. And I feel like at that point, the game definitely changed. And we've seen this before with Aaron Jones in the playoff game against the Buccaneers where he fumbled. And in general, there is times when Aaron Jones has fumbled the ball in very crucial situations, and that's kind of been a problem in his career. He had the second most total fumbles of all running backs in 2022 with 5 total fumbles. So yeah, he definitely has to work on that, but that's just one small thing, whereas Aaron Jones is such a great dual threat running back, and we've seen that more and more each year he's been on the team. He can be a very, very dynamic runner. He plays a lot bigger than his frame is, and then also in the receiving game, this guy can be a slot receiver, an out wide receiver running screen passes, and just in general, the amount you can do with Aaron Jones, I think he would be greatly missed in this Packers offense, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love at the helm. But on the flip side, I've always said time and time again that I just do not agree with paying running backs big money in this league. And we've seen that time and time again with players such as Zeke Elliott, who makes $15 million average per year, and at this point isn't even the best running back on his roster, arguably. You could say Tony Pollard is at this point better than Zeke Elliott, which I would personally. So you kind of get down that road of if you give a running back a big contract, which running backs on their own have a short shelf life, you can end up with some big issues in terms of salary cap spending a lot of money on a running back. Because out of all the positions on offense, it's arguable that running back is the easiest one to replace. A lot of teams finding running back talent in the later rounds in the draft, in the 5th round, 6th round, even undrafted free agents like Austin Eckler. And funny thing about Austin Eckler, I saw a recent podcast here that he wanted to go to either the Chargers or the Packers, but when that draft happened, the Packers drafted 3 running backs, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and Devontae May. So then he said, well, I'm not going to go there as an undrafted free agent. So then he went to the Chargers. You have Khalil Herbert in the 6th round. You have Tony Pollard, who we just talked about, that was drafted in the 4th round. I feel like when you're talking about running back, a lot of teams, they find these running backs in the later rounds and they turn out to be really good players. And we should know that first and foremost as Packers fans. We drafted Aaron Jones in the 5th round in 2017, and he wasn't even the first running back we drafted. We drafted Jamal Williams first, who is now on the Detroit Lions and is now starting over DeAndre Swift, who was a 2nd round running back, while Jamal Williams was a 4th round running back. So my point is, running backs can definitely be replaced, but when you have someone as dynamic as Aaron Jones, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down at all, I think you try to keep that guy around on your offense and also focus your offense around him. So now diving into the contract, this is the main issue with Aaron Jones. Obviously, like I said, he's under contract through 2024. So it's not like he's an impending free agent and we're sitting here wondering, okay, what should the Green Bay Packers pay for Aaron Jones? They've already decided this a couple of years ago. So if we bring up his contract here, we see in 2022, his cap number was $5.9 million, a measly 2.7% of the total salary cap. But this was a backloaded contract, not to mention a couple restructures, and that makes his 2023 cap hit jump all the way up to $20 million or 8.8% of the cap. And if that's an edge rusher, a quarterback, or even a wide receiver, and they're a really good player at that position, you're going, okay, that's kind of doable. But for a running back, that is a lot of money. Not to mention in 2024, it's still up there at $16 million cap hit. And to put that into perspective, that is easily the biggest cap hit for this upcoming season for a running back, and it's not really close. The next closest, Zeke Elliott and Derrick Henry at $16 million cap hit. So it's $4 more million than those two guys against the cap this year. And when the Packers signed this deal, when I saw how the contract came out, and even when they did the restructure, I was pretty much thinking, okay, he's going to play in 2021, play in 2022, and then that's going to be an easy out, and they're going to cut ties with Aaron Jones going into the 2023 season. But with the way he performed last year, I'm second guessing what I initially said, and I think they shouldn't cut ties with him. This year, Aaron Jones totaled 1,121 rushing yards, which was the highest in his career. Now, he only had 2 rushing touchdowns, which obviously we're used to Aaron Jones scoring a lot more rushing touchdowns like he did in 2019 with 16 total rushing touchdowns. But I think that was also part of how the Packers offense was ran this year and why it was so abysmal in the red zone was the fact that Aaron Jones just wasn't getting the ball close to the goal line, which that shows only 2 rushing touchdowns. As for receiving, he had 395 yards, which is better than the last 2 years as well, with 5 total touchdowns receiving. That's a total of 1,516 scrimmage yards, which is second best in his career. The only year he did better than that was in 2019, where he totaled 1,558 scrimmage yards. And that was primarily because he just had more receiving yards that year with 474, and he was still a 1,000-yard rusher at 1,084. So although Aaron Jones is 28 years old, and that's usually when running backs start to kind of fall off, I do think they need to at least retain him through 2023, then decide if they want to move on in 2024. But the problem with that is, with his current cap hit of $20 million, that is most definitely going to be touched. If they keep Aaron Jones on this roster, it is almost a certainty that that number is restructured and more money is pushed out, therefore making it harder to move on next year. So to show you guys exactly what I mean, I'm going to bring up this table here. So we see Aaron Jones, we see his cap hit of $20 million. So for right now, if they were to cut him, just outright cut Aaron Jones, and this is before June 1st, because that's when everything changes. If you cut a player or trade a player post June 1st, some things change, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. If they were to just cut him outright, they would save $10.4 million off the cap, but incur $9.5 million in dead money, which honestly isn't that bad, but probably not the best course of action. You could definitely trade him, which, as you see here, would do the same exact thing, and a team would definitely trade for Aaron Jones. So if Aaron Rodgers does indeed retire and the Packers go full-on rebuild mode, they might end up doing that, but I give that around like a 10% chance of happening. Now, if they were to cut or trade Aaron Jones post June 1st, like I was mentioning earlier, they would save $16 million off the cap and only incur $4 million in dead money. So if the Packers were to cut or trade Aaron Jones, it's likely going to be after June 1st. The only problem with that is when the new league year starts in the middle of March, you have to be under the cap. So that means they would have to carry Aaron Jones's $20 million cap hit into the new league year and still be under the cap at the same time, which is part of the problem why it's going to be hard to get under the cap, is that $20 million hit. So you kind of fall into that dilemma where you got to touch a lot of other contracts, keep that one on the books at the $20 million until a post June 1st designation trade or cut. The third option, which I think is the most likely, is a contract restructure. We were getting very familiar with these last offseason, so just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher, if you don't know already, a contract restructure isn't a player taking a pay cut. I always see this on Twitter and whatnot, and when a player gets their contract restructured, I always see people saying, oh, thank you, X player, for taking a pay cut. That's not the case at all. A player honestly doesn't even have to agree to the restructure unless more void years are added. The team can simply do this. All it is pushing money they already owe the player out to future years and pretty much saying, okay, we're not going to pay it this year, we'll pay it later, we'll worry about it later. Pretty much just kicking the can down the road. So if the Packers were to do a max restructure with Aaron Jones, that would drop his cap hit in 2023 down to $8.8 million. A lot more manageable and a lot better for someone like Aaron Jones being on your roster than that $20 million. But that doesn't do anything for 2024, where it's still going to be a cap hit of $19 million. And you're still going to run into the problem of having to pay Aaron Jones money. Like I said, this doesn't remove the money that you owe Aaron Jones so long he's on the roster. It just pushes it down the line. Which, yeah, if you're going all in and Aaron Rodgers is returning for one more year, I guess you do this and you go, hey, we'll worry about it later because we're going all in. And by the point when Aaron Rodgers retires in 2024, you're going to be in a rebuild phase anyways, and it's really not going to matter. And that's why I think this is the most likely scenario to happen, because I do see Aaron Rodgers coming back one more year. In that case, I think the Packers definitely have to keep Aaron Jones around, which obviously that just means they wouldn't trade him, as he is, like I said, still under contract. He was the third best running back via PFF last year with a 90.6 running grade. He was 10th in the NFL in yards after contact average with 3.2. And overall, he was one of the players in this offense that really really did good this year. This offense was very underperforming, and it did not live up to anyone's expectations. Later in the year, Christian Watson was a really good player. Early in the year, Aaron Jones was a really good player. And this was statistically his best season. And most of it, he was hurt. He had random leg injuries, a glute injury, a shin, an ankle, a calf injury. He had a bunch of injuries where many times during the game, you'd see him get up after a run, hobble off the field, return in a couple drives, and the same thing would just keep repeating. So there's no way Aaron Jones later in this year was 100%. So the fact that he still put up one of his best, if not his best years as a pro speaks volume. So like I said, the thing I think that will happen is the Packers will restructure Aaron Jones. I think they're going to do that with a lot of players this offseason, just like we saw last season. Russ Ball restructuring a ton of contracts, pushing more money into the future. And of course, like I said, this is all based on Aaron Rodgers coming back. Of course, if he doesn't, who knows how much of that they will do. Will they try to surround, Jordan Love with some talent? Maybe keep Aaron Jones if it's still Jordan Love. We'll see. And since this entire video is about Aaron Jones, of course, I got to talk to you guys again about this month's giveaway, this Aaron Jones signed custom white Packers helmet. This is an awesome helmet. I am super hyped to give this one away. Thank you to Pristine Auction. To enter in this giveaway, you go to pristineauction.com, sign up on their website using my registration code BAS, B-A-S. That's at pristineauction.com, and that'll get you entered in this giveaway and all future giveaways on this channel. But that about does it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to be diving down into everything Packers this offseason. So if that does interest you and you are a new viewer here, I'd really appreciate it if you went down and hit the subscribe button. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Packers.